Hi, I'm Megan Reynolds. Today we're going to do part 2 of our series looking at the Lord's Prayer and seeing what we can glean from how Jesus taught us to pray. So today's passage is Hallowed be thy name, and we're going to read again from Dallas Willard in The Divine Conspiracy. In the biblical world, names are never just names. They partake of the reality that they refer to. The Jewish reverence for the name of God was so great that especially devout Jews might even avoid pronouncing it. Thus, we do not really know how Yahweh, as we say it, really is to be pronounced. The pronunciation is lost in history. Today, very few people any longer understand what it means to hallow something and are apt to associate hallow only with ghosts and Halloween. So we would do better to translate the language here as, let your name be sanctified. Let it be uniquely respected. Really, the idea is that his name should be treasured and loved more than any other, held in an absolutely unique position among humanity. The word translated hallow or sanctify is hagiastheto. It is basically the same word used, for example, in John 17:17, where Jesus asked the Father to sanctify his students, especially the apostles, through his truth. And it appears again in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, where Paul expresses his hope that God will sanctify the Thessalonians entirely, keeping them blameless in spirit, soul, and body until Jesus returns. In such passages, too, the term means to locate the persons referred to in a separate and very special kind of reality. This request is based upon the deepest need of the human world. Human life is not about human life. Nothing will go right in it until the greatness and goodness of its source and governor is adequately grasped. His very name is then held in the highest possible regard. Until that is so, the human compass will always be pointing in the wrong direction, and individual lives as well as history as a whole will suffer from constant and fluctuating disorientation. Candidly, that is exactly the condition we find ourselves in. But the cosmic significance of this first request must not hide the fact that it is also the natural request of a child who loves its Abba, its daddy. How a child's heart is wounded to hear its parent, mother or father, dishonored, or to see them attacked. Such an attack shakes the very foundations of the child's existence, for the parents are its world. The touching confidence in the parent that famously makes a child think its parents are the best, in every regard, is really essential to the child's well-being in the early stages of life. So when we hear this first request, we want to remember that it is the prayer of an adoring child, somewhat jealous for its parent, and we want to let ourselves sense its longing that Abba, who in this case really is the greatest, should be recognized as such. We want to dwell on this meditatively and perhaps weep for sadness that God is not so understood. We want to enter into the alarm of the little child who stumbles across those who do not think its father or mother is the greatest and best. And we must transfer that alarm to the lack of admiration and confidence that the human world has for our Father in the heavens. So how do we lean into and pray, hallowed be thy name? We want to think about who God is, his greatness, his goodness, his character. And then we want to pray that that God that we know would be known and respected, seen and loved by others in the world. So my challenge for you today in prayer is to spend time reflecting on the greatness of God and then spend time in prayer that others would come to see and acknowledge that same greatness.